Russian President Vladimir Putin hails the growing influence of new centres of power at a summit with Asian leaders, including China's Xi Jinping. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights' office wants to send a team to Izium to verify Ukrainian allegations that a mass grave has been found after the city was recaptured from Russia. Around 1,000 flights to and from France are cancelled as the country's air traffic controllers go on strike, causing delays across European airspace. The queue to see Queen Elizabeth lying in state in London has been temporarily closed after reaching capacity, as officials warn of waiting times of around 14 hours. At least 8 people have been killed by torrential overnight rains and floods in the central Italian region of Marche as rescuers continue to search for 4 people missing. Ukraine claims to have found 10 torture rooms in Kharkiv after the city was liberated from Russian control. Kiev also says it's found a mass grave containing more than 400 bodies in the recaptured city of Izium. Kiev officials say it's proof of war crimes carried out by the Russians, something Moscow has always denied since its invasion began. According to a Ukrainian official in the region, Russian soldiers posted a video of a forest which shows the burial of 17 Ukrainian soldiers.
Ми думаємо, по надписам, які були тут написано, що 17 тіл, але на відео їх більше. Ми їх ще нарахували, але я думаю, що біля 25-30. Можливо, це іще є не одне поховання на цьому кладовищі, ми це ще будемо відпрацьовувати. І я думаю, що ми знайдемо всіх, хто загинув тут.
President Volodymyr Zelensky likened the discovery to what happened in Bucha.
В Ізюмі, на Харківщині, знайдене масове захоронення людей.
Mass graves were found in Izium in the Kharkiv region. The necessary legal proceedings have already been initiated there. There should be more information, clear and verified, tomorrow. Tomorrow there will be Ukrainian and international journalists in Izium, all journalists. We want the world to know what is really happening and what the Russian occupation has led to in Bucha, Mariupol and now unfortunately Izium. Russia is leaving death behind it everywhere and must be held responsible. The world must bring Russia to real responsibility for this war. We will do everything for this.
In Kryvyi Rih, authorities are working to repair the damage to a reservoir dam from Russian missile strikes. As a result, water levels are receding. In the city of Donetsk, Ukrainian forces have repelled 3 Russian attacks. Sea-based missiles also targeted areas of the Odessa port region. They were destroyed by anti-aircraft units. The Ukrainian military says Russian forces launched attacks on several settlements along the Kharkiv front line. The NATO Secretary General is warning that nations should prepare for the long haul and says the end of the Ukraine war is not in sight.
whatever happens here today in Samarkand impacts the world.
It is hinted or rather widely speculated that Pakistan can be pulled out of the grey list.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin in Samarkand. After addressing the summit earlier, the two are expected to discuss issues of strategic ability, the situation in the Asia-Pacific, and bilateral ties within the United Nations and the G20. India's partnership is crucial for Russia. The world's largest democracy and a key Quad member has maintained close ties with the United States and the West, while also strengthening ties with Russia amid the Ukraine war. New Delhi has refused to take sides in that ongoing conflict, much to the dismay of the West. India has abstained from United Nations votes on the Russian assault on Ukraine. The country has instead called for a diplomatic solution to the crisis. India's imports of Russian oil have soared since the Russia-Ukraine war began. And let's get more on this now from our correspondent Siddhant Sibal, who is with us from Samarkand.
It has been a hectic day here in Samarkand. We saw the summit earlier today, which has concluded with handing over of presidency to India. We know the Samarkand Declaration has also been released, where of course there has been call for an inclusive government in Afghanistan. More details are awaited when it comes to Samarkand Declaration. But by and large, it was Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech that, of course, has been the focus area as well, given that India is the incoming president of the grouping. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi focused on three key points. He talked about the need for transit routes, which, of course, is a message to Islamabad, which, of course, has been blocking India's connectivity to its west. The second, of course, is on basically the food crisis globally. The Indian Prime Minister emphasized on the use of millets and also proposed a festival on millets. The third, of course, and the most interesting has been the fact that the Indian Prime Minister mentioned about Ukraine conflict and the COVID pandemic having its impact on the supply chains. That, of course, is something that has been having its impact essentially when it comes to the price rise as well. But largely these three key points were the outcomes, perhaps many would say, from the Prime Minister's speech. We also saw other leaders, the Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Chinese President Xi Jinping congratulating India for the presidency, and the Chinese President even said that they support India's SCO presidency. So a lot of things on the ground, but also Prime Minister's key bilaterals. The Indian Prime Minister had a bilateral with the Turkish President, which is seen as a breakthrough, given the relationship between the two countries has essentially not been doing very well because of the comments made by Erdogan on Kashmir in past few years. With video journalist Ajit Siddhant Sibal for WION in Samarkand, Uzbekistan.
Our correspondent Siddhant Sibal from Samarkand there. Well, while heads of 11 member states attended day one of the SCO summit in Samarkand and at dinner on Thursday, Chinese President Xi Jinping was missing from those pictures. Russian President Vladimir Putin, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, they were there. Sources in Uzbekistan say that the Chinese president stayed away from the dinner due to his delegation's strict COVID-19 policy. Xi Jinping's visit to Uzbekistan is his first foreign trip since right at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. And with those Russian and Chinese delegations in Samarkand, Taiwan is warning that ties between Moscow and Beijing are a threat, it says, to global peace. It claims the international community must now resist the expansion of authoritarianism. Taipei's statement comes a day after Russian President Vladimir Putin held those talks with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the SCO summit. During the talks, Vladimir Putin reiterated his support for China's claim over Taiwan. He also condemned the United States for what he sees as its provocations in the Taiwan Strait. Xi Jinping told Vladimir Putin that he is willing to make efforts with Russia to assume the role of a great power. Vladimir Putin's statement did raise alarm in the self-governed island of Taiwan, raising fears that China might one day use the Russian playbook from Ukraine and invade. The Taiwanese Foreign Ministry has condemned the Russian president for making statements that it says demeans the island's sovereignty. In London, the queue to visit the Queen's coffin has been temporarily paused. Officials said it had reached capacity, with thousands in line, and that entry to the start of the queue would be paused for at least 6 hours. The Queen will lie in state in Westminster Hall until the morning of the funeral on Monday the 19th. Thousands of people queued all night to visit her coffin.
She's just unique, wonderful, and we love her, and it's been like losing a family member. So it's just been it's wonderful. So we don't regret any minute of it, do we? And we've got another 2 hours to go apparently, but we'll do it.
No sensation on my knees at all or legs, but it's been fine. You know, most of the people have been lovely, and we've had quite a nice time, really.
Meanwhile, King Charles and Camilla are in Wales on Friday, marking the last of his week-long visit around the nations of the United Kingdom, his first as king. The royal couple's first stop is Llandaff Cathedral for a service, and then a motion of condolence will be presented at the Welsh Parliament or Senedd. Buckingham Palace says King Charles will also host a reception for faith leaders on Friday. Charles is expected to speak at that event before taking part in a silent vigil with his siblings. Charles, his sister Princess Anne, and brothers Princes Andrew and Edward will join the ceremonial guard for the 15-minute vigil at Westminster Hall alongside the Queen's coffin. Meanwhile, a charity set up by the then Prince Charles will continue to operate now he is monarch, we are told. According to an official, the trust will retain its original name, the Prince's Trust, despite the fact that he is now king. Over the years, the trust has helped 1 million young people, including the actor Idris Elba.
So Prince's Trust, is well told, very pivotal moment in my junction as a young man wanting to, become an actor, and them helping me. I can't say anything but it was really pivotal and great, and I'm so thankful for it. And, I've always sort of tried to, speak up about crime and how we can sort of, as a nation, combat it, speak up about it, join forces, empower those that are actually doing the work, and I feel that it's an ongoing fight, it's an ongoing message.
Meanwhile, in central London, 2 police officers have been taken to hospital after being stabbed. It comes amid the massive security operation ahead of Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. The stabbing took place near Leicester Square. It is not currently being treated.
2 police officers were stabbed in Leicester Square in the early hours of this morning. The 2 men were in uniform when they confronted another male in his 20s, acting erratically and suspected of carrying a blade. One police officer was stabbed in the neck and the other in the arm, with the latter more seriously injured. Both are now in hospital. The incident was initially seen as a completely routine stop, with officers attempting to try and help him before they were stabbed. Both were unarmed, and it was officers who arrived on the scene afterwards that tasered the alleged knifeman and arrested him. And the Metropolitan Police have said that the incident is not terror-related, but it comes after Scotland's new Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, started his job on Monday. Sadiq Khan and the Police Federation have condemned the appalling attack. The Mayor of London said that our police officers run towards danger to protect others and keep us safe, and we owe them a huge debt of gratitude.
Heavy rains and flooding have hit the central Italian region of Marche, killing at least 8 people. According to local authorities, they did not expect the floods. Around 400 millimetres of rain fell within 2 to 3 hours. That inundated the streets of several towns in the Ancona and Pesaro Urbino provinces. In the Italian town of Senigallia, firefighters rescued people and evacuated them by boat. Meanwhile, the leader of Italy's centre-left Democratic Party will stop campaigning in the region ahead of the upcoming national election. Tesla is re-evaluating the way it sells cars in China. The auto company is now considering closing some showrooms in malls in major Chinese cities where demand has dropped because of COVID restrictions.
Tesla could make some big changes to how it operates in China. Sources have told Reuters the automaker is re-evaluating how it sells electric cars in the country. It could reportedly close some showrooms in cities like Beijing, where footfall plunged during the health crisis. The sources say the shift would put more focus on stores in less costly suburban locations that can provide repairs. Tesla is working to meet CEO Elon Musk's goal of improving service for existing customers. The carmaker has been the target of a series of customer complaints and lawsuits in China. Some state media outlets have criticised the company. One source said Tesla would look to hire more technicians and other staff for service jobs in China. As of Thursday, over 300 openings for service jobs were advertised on its Chinese recruitment site. Tesla didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. It's the second largest EV brand in China, behind local rival BYD, and has over 200 stores across the country. But more than half don't offer maintenance services since they are in high-rent locations where space is limited. Tesla sold 400,000 China-made Model 3 and Model Y cars in the first 8 months of the year. 60% were sold locally, much more than a year before, according to the China Passenger Car Association.
After Roger Federer announced his retirement from competitive tennis, tributes have been pouring in from around the world.
Everyone knows Roger Federer and what he's achieved on a tennis court, and no more so than here at Wimbledon, where he's won 8 titles, and he'll be missed every year now from the grass. It just won't be the same without him. You know, you look forward to Wimbledon, you look forward to watching Federer in centre court. I know I queued up a couple of years ago, and my intentions was to get to see Roger in centre court, because once you experience that, that's pretty much the pinnacle in tennis.
C'était quelqu'un de très simple. Moi, il disait tout ce qu'il pensait sincèrement, et il était à fond, quoi. Il jouait à fond dans son tennis, quoi. Donc c'était ça que j'aimais beaucoup, quoi. Et c'était quelqu'un de joueur, quoi, parce qu'il félicitait tout le temps son joueur, toujours la main serrée à son concurrent. Que ce soit qui gagne ou qui gagne pas.
To me, he's the Jordan of tennis. Style, class, amazing tennis player. So I've been watching him since I was 15. So it's definitely my favorite. I'm a little bummed. I wish that he would have played. I don't know if he ever played Alcaraz, but I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah, he was my favorite.
What you liked about his career?
His style. He was just so fluid and made it look easy. Never sweat. Even when it was tough points, he just was. He was like one of a kind. I mean, he played like a classical game, like the old Australians almost, if you want to say.
And finally, a hover bike made by Japanese manufacturers is set to launch in the United States next year. The hover bike has made its US debut at the Detroit Auto Show. I will leave you with that story. Thanks for watching.
I'm literally like 15 years old and I just got out of Star Wars and I jumped on their bike. I mean, it's awesome. You know, it was exhilarating. I mean, it's not vicious, right? It's comfortable. I mean, it was really comfortable taking off and landing. So there's no like jerky jerk. It's literally very, very smooth. And I can't wait for the future. I'm so excited.
This is right, Arab.